So we were on 1.39. Let's see. Kulakshe pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam kritsnam adharmo bhi bhavatyuta. So, do you remember what we discussed in our previous class? Let's see
So
from
it
the
was
quiz.
regarding
Let's see from the quiz.
the kingdom, the dynasty of the Pandavas.
Yes, so let's see this with the quiz. According to Arjuna, what happens when a family is destroyed? So you can see the term here, Kulakshay.
Um, their their dynasty then would be disappeared.
Destroyed, not disappear. Destroy. Yes. And then what will happen? People will
Um,
follow a religion.
oh yes, they would have a dharma.
Yes. What are Sanatana Kula Dharmas? That is eternal family tradition mentioned in the verse.
So the Sanatan is the eternal.
Yes.
And
So we saw here eternal means ancient time, but not which has no beginning. So the family traditions which are coming from ancient times, we saw in the commentary like fire sacrifices and etc. So those were mentioned. Okay. Now, okay. Why was Arjuna worried about the destruction of family traditions? Because we saw that if there would be family destruction, then new generation will follow a dharma, a religion. Okay, now we'll see purport of Prabhupada today. In the system of, I have a request before you enter in the class or like before going to bed, you should read whatever we discussed. Otherwise, if you enter in the class and if I ask you quiz, so everything becomes blank. Oh, what we studied in previous class. It happens with everyone because we are Kali Yugites. We live in Kali Yuga, so we have short term memory and many things are there. This happens with everyone. So please try to read whatever we discussed. You can even ask for these PDFs with me. I'll share it with you. It will just take 2 minutes if you will read it, but you will revise everything.
let's go.
Okay, let's see the purport now. In the system of Varnashrama institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. So, yes, like waking up early in the morning and entering in the kitchen after taking shower, or if we have rested or we have been in washroom, then also take shower. So, cleanliness and how we should offer food to Lord before consuming. These are not the things which Prabhupada has created. These things were there from ancient time, but by time, as like if we talk about Kali Yuga, as Kali Yuga is increasing, so uh, these principles, religious traditions, they are uh, disappearing or destroying by time. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family because elder members are the one who are the experienced one, and uh, yes, it is expected from them, then they will only educate the later generation about the purifying process in the family, beginning from birth to death. So, there are many things, many rituals are there which are mandatory, especially if, people in India, they follow it even now. If, a child has taken birth, so there are many rituals they follow after a child take birth. Many things are there. And, a new married lady is not very much educated about these things, because she has gotten married for the first time, she beget a child for the first time, so her mother-in-law teach her what she should do. So this happens. So that's why, Prabhupada is saying the elder members are responsible for it, beginning from birth to death. So, yes, at the time of birth, I told you. Now, from birth, there are many things. Even at the time of marriage, there are so many rituals which people still follow in India. And on many different occasions, also, they do it. And at the time of death, also, if a person has died, mean he has left his body, so then also there are many rituals which are to be followed. So I'm not sure about what happens in West, but yes, there are many things which happen here. If anyone has died in family, then they will not do any celebration for almost an year. No celebration at all, no marriage, no birthdays, or whatever celebrations happen. And there are many things which happen. Okay. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop. So that experienced person or the experienced persons, if they are no more, then family traditions of purification may stop, because there would be no one to educate the new generation. And the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. So yes, this is what Arjuna was telling to Krishna, that if I will kill, if these family members would be killed by us, then there would be destruction of dynasty, and because of that, the younger family members may develop irreligious habits. Now, what are those irreligious habits? That Arjuna will tell in next verse. Please sing after me. Adharmabhibhavat Krishna.
Can you share the same page, please?
You can't see the screen?
It has verse 39.
Now?
Yes.
Adharmabhibhavat Krishna.
Adharma bhavat Krishna.
Pradyushanti kulastriyaha.
Pradushanti kulashtriyaha.
Strishu dushtasu varshneya.
Strishu dushtasu varshneya.
Jayate varna sankaraha.
Jayate varna sankaraha.
Would you like to sing again?
Sure. Adharma bhavat Krishna.
Adharmabhibhavat Krishna.
Pradushanti kulastriyah.
Pradushyanti kulastriyah.
Strishu dushtasu varshneya.
Strishu dusta Strishu dushta suvarshneya.
Jayate varna sankaraham.
Jayate varna sankaraha. Let's see. Very interesting verse. When irreligious is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So, yes, now here Arjuna is telling to Krishna, he's continuing. In previous verse, he said that if we will kill our family members, they are elders, and if we'll kill them, then new generation, younger members will engage in adharma, irreligion activities. And what are those irreligion activities? The women of family become polluted. So illicit relationships and all, this will happen, and from the degradation of womanhood comes unwanted progeny. So you will see this right now also, wherever wars are happening in different countries like Russia or Israel. This is because of unwanted progeny. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Progeny?
Yes.
Yes. So it's because of unwanted progeny. Yes. It is very much important to understand that problem is not the population. Problem is what population is doing. So definitely people, they are not following any religion in their life, and that's why they are fighting unnecessarily. So this is, you can understand this very nicely, that the reason for their fighting is not valid at all. That is not dharma yuddha at all. They are fighting for rubbish things. Unnecessarily they are fighting. Plus, they are not fighting in right way, like a kshatriya should fight. They are not fighting that way. They are fighting in a cheated way. They are actually not fighting, they are attacking on the opposing party secretly. Means they are not challenging the opposing party, that, oh, let's fight. No, they are fighting by, they attack anytime. They will attack at any time on the opposing party, so that they may die, or they may win, the people who are attacking suddenly, spontaneously. So this is not the real war. This is not the right way to fight a war. So yes, this is happening because of unwanted progeny. Let's see the commentary. Just as we, having been made to trespass dharma by our brothers, bring about sin in the form of destruction of the family. So now see, Arjuna is saying here that, oh Krishna, we does not want to fight. We are not desiring to fight at all. But this war has been imposed on us. We don't want to fight, but this war has been imposed on us, and because of this, uh, this is a sinful activity, and because of this reason, what will happen? Family of destruction, and from that, what will happen? The women, if afflicted with ignorance, because no one would be there to educate them that how a chaste women should live their life, they will not know this. They will not know this. So, afflicted with ignorance, thinking that they may engage in sin, being made to defy vows of chastity by us, will become corrupted. So let's understand this with an example. Suppose you come here for the classes every day. You come every day. But suppose now instead of talking about Krishna, I talk about uh, impersonalist. I become an impersonalist, and I speak about impersonalism. So you will not be interested to come, isn't it? But now, if these classes are imposed to you that you will have to come, if you will not, you will have to come. There is no option of not coming. So you will think that, oh, I don't want to come in these classes. This impersonalist, I don't want to come in her class, and these classes are being imposed on me. So okay, if like it's imposed, it if these classes are imposed on me, I'm taking these classes. So suppose I am following, I am hearing these classes, and I am also bound to attend the quiz of these classes. I have no interest at all. I have no desire to attend these impersonalist classes, but then also these are being imposed on me. I have to attend the class, I have to attend the quiz, and maybe my friend or any of my relative may also get influenced by me, and they also start taking these classes. So this is not good. It will become corrupted. Were you able to understand with the example?
Is this like when there's been invasion and then they are forced to change? Like, I don't know, in Pakistan and parts of India, then they couldn't keep Krishna consciousness. Something else they started following, or is it a different issue?
I didn't understand your question.
Well, um, okay, say not like in India, but in other parts of the world. For example, um, um, Christianity has been imposed in some parts of the world by force. They didn't want to, because, like in the Americas, they already had their own culture, but the Spanish, which were bringing something that is is stemming from Judaism, is from Israel, but that's where Christianity comes from originally. And so then somehow it was in Europe. So then in when they discovered the Americas, they were forced to have this belief. So is it in the same way of line of thinking, or
Yes, basically, by this example, I'm trying to explain that feeling. That if something is forced on you, if something is imposed on you, then how would you feel? So that way Arjuna was feeling, that I don't want to fight, but this war is being imposed by my brothers on me, by our brothers on me. See, this is what written. Just as we, having been made to trespass dharma by our brothers, bring about sin in the form of destruction of family. So we are so much inclined towards following dharma, but uh, the war is being imposed on us by our brothers. We don't desire to fight at all, but it's being imposed on us. And what would be the result? Result would be destruction of the family, and then later women afflicted with ignorance, they will engage in sinful activities, illicit relationships, and that will result in unwanted progeny.
Mm.
Now let's talk about more things about this topic. Uh,
Just wondering, so when he's feeling the war is being imposed, it's not just war itself, is it the religion aspect, the dharma, that like you mentioned the example of impersonalism,
yes,
or is it just the fighting?
adharma is being imposed on us.
Ah, okay. Yes.
So
It's not just the fighting.
Arjuna is seeing this war as adharma,
Uh-huh. I got
not
it.
dharma, not religious at all. It's irreligious to fight. This is
Mhm.
what he's trying to prove here and giving so many excuses. So let's talk about this topic more in detail. So, it is said that women, they can be easily cheated because they have a kind of nature which is very simple, and anyone can convince women very easily because the heart of women is like this only. They can easily get convinced, and if any person is a cheater or an exploiter, then that, and if that girl or woman is trusting on that person, assuming that, oh, he's so nice, he's my well wisher, he knows everything good about me, I mean, what I can depend on him nicely. And if that person is cheater, so definitely he will exploit her. So yes, this is the very tendency of women, that they can easily get convinced by other people. And because of this reason, specifically women is mentioned is in this verse, that women afflicted with ignorance, they will engage in sinful activities, and then the result will be unwanted progeny. So yes, this is the very nature of women. And also, the nature of a man is, uh, he's always dominant. He can never be as submissive as women. Prabhupada also tells this as an appreciation, that it is a very nice quality of girls or ladies, that they are submissive and they have a very nice attitude of serving. And because of this reason, you will see, at least I have noticed this many times, that matajis, they they can easily come in bhakti, because they have this submissive nature and nature of serving, so they can easily accept bhakti and serve Krishna. In fact, Krishna himself is giving example of a chaste woman, that just like a chaste woman, by her services to her husband, she can control her husband nicely. So same way, devotees by their services can control me in that way. So by giving an example of a chaste woman, Krishna is telling this, that devotees can also control me in that way. So Krishna is also appreciating women here because of their submissive nature and quality of the service attitude. So this is very good quality. And yes, on the other hand, men has dominative nature. They can never be submissive. And you will also see men also have a tendency to enjoy. I mean, I'm talking this from a material level. I'm not talking about devotees, because devotees, they practice sense control. So definitely they develop nice qualities and they control their senses. Yes, by bhakti grace. But this is very true that the tendency of men is to enjoy, or let's say to exploit. This is always there. And especially you will see, if any person, if he's not a devotee, then you can see the condition of materialistic, how much, you know, they are so, their nature is so exploitive. They always want to exploit or enjoy. I was really wondering on this when I was, studying this shloka. I was remembering, like, there were many people in my mind. I was, going in past, and many faces were coming in my mind. I mean, not they were not in my life, but I was able to see this. It's very tendency. Please try to understand this. If any person is conditioned soul, he is not devoted to Krishna. He is helpless. Because he's so much controlled by his senses. He cannot do anything. He's helpless. He senses will definitely pull him towards bad things, or to be very specific, towards adharma.
Yeah, I, I, I guess this is the traditional um, impression. And yes, for sure, the feminine energy is more passive, and nowadays things are a little bit different, because some men, whether they can be devotees and they're very submissive, um, in terms of service and bhakti, and also personality. And then, I know a lot of women are very, very strong. So, yes, it's that energy, rather than the person itself. That's what I'm understanding. But yeah, women in general, by tradition, they were expected to have that submissive attitude. And yes, I mean, like, if we look at all the buildings, they they have been built by men only, not women. So, and that's so something like that is very clear. Um, and yeah, like when, I used to go more to yoga, like Ashtanga yoga, before, and it was mainly women. You would see, some men very good at it, but it was mainly women. Um, so I can see your point, and what is happening here, and they can get in trouble if they're persuaded, and then they end up um, with something that they were not expecting, and dishonor. Um, I think that's what I'm understanding from the this verse.
Yes. And
Right.
like in temples also, you will see majority would be Matajis.
Uh,
Because, I was, trying to tell this, because of their submissive and service attitude, they can easily get convinced to do bhakti. It's very
mhm.
nice. So,
Yeah.
okay. Some more points, like if we talk about modern times. So, right now, you will see this submissive attitude of women is getting covered. They are, they want to be self dependent. I'm talking it in the terms you will understand it in what terms I'm saying. Or they want to they want to prove that, oh, we are not less, we are more. And because of that reason, you will see, especially in India, it was it was a tradition that it was expected from a girl that after marriage she be a housewife. It was not allowed to go out and work. And Prabhupada also mentioned this, that a girl should get married at the age of 16, and boy should get married at the age of 24. So this should be the age gap between girl and boy. Now Prabhupada was also telling this because there is a big reason behind it. When girls and boys are very young, so because this is the age where mode of passion is very prominent. It dominates. One mode of passion is there, and because of this mode of passion, girls or boys can can involve in bad association, because passion means tendency of enjoyment, or your understanding,
Very
gratifying
driven.
senses in gross way. So yes, because of this reason also, this was ancient tradition. This is coming from ancient times, that a girl should get married and a boy should get married at early age, so that uh, their mind be stable. And if if we are growing and they are not getting married on at the right age, so definitely afflicted with ignorance, they will engage in illicit relationships. And this is happening these days very much. People, they are keeping boyfriends, girlfriends, and they are engaging in all sort of things. So yes, this is something which is very much important. And one more point I wanted to mention here. Yeah, so basically, I was trying to tell that if we talk about modern times, then this submissiveness is getting covered. And what we are reading here, this is happening practically here. Why? Because Kulakshaya, destruction of dynasty, new generations were not being educated that what they need to do, or at what time they should get married, and all sort of things. So because of this reason, these things are happening. Right now, you will see in India, dharma is still there. People, they are inclined towards following dharma. If they are not following Krishna conscious, then also they are following certain rituals or other things which also falls in the category of dharma. And because of this reason, you know here in India, it's still very peaceful as compared to West. Because I heard it that in West, people are they are not respectful or obedient. Is that so? Means
Um,
it's very difficult for there, I mean, the people in West, it's very difficult for them to become obedient. They
mm,
just want to
like
follow their own mind, or their own things. It's that so?
like they're more rebellious. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. So yes, this is very true. And I have also experienced this many time, because I have also got opportunity to interact with many Westerners. I tried to preach them Krishna consciousness. So some were there who were nice, and they somehow listened to me and obeyed, but not fully. And many were there who were rebellious. You mentioned the word, and they just want to follow what they want to follow. So yes, this is very true. So you will see, basically, yes, I was telling that in India, people are really very obedient. If you will see, they are obedient. They can easily accept things. This is very true. People, like, if I talk about myself, I was also following many things. If related to spirituality, it was not related to exactly Krishna consciousness, but I was following it. But I was following it aimlessly. I didn't know the reason that why I have to do it. I was doing it because my mother was telling me, because I saw my mother doing it. So that's why I was doing it. Or my grandmother told me that you should do this. That's why I was doing it. But I was not knowing the reason that why should I do that. And because of this reason, I was not doing it with that interest, with the interest, like right now I am reading Bhagavad Gita or discussing Bhagavad Gita with interest, or doing other things with interest. I was not doing it with that interest that time, because there was no reason. I didn't know the reason. I was doing it aimlessly. And sometimes I was not feeling like doing it. I was just doing it that okay, because my mother is saying, or I need to please her, so that she may give me some money or something like that. That's why I was doing it. So yes, you will see in India people are obedient, but there is one problem, that they are following things aimlessly. They do not know why they need to do it. But one devotee was, actually Prabhupada was telling this, that at that time when he went to the West for preaching, so he started from hippies. So hippies were already following Sarva Dharman Parityajya. They already abandoned all the, you know, different kind of dharmas. Dharma means, false dharma which people follow aimlessly. They already abandoned those. And because of this reason, it was very easy for them. I mean, not very easy, but it was easy for them to accept Krishna as God, or to follow Krishna consciousness. But in India, people think that, oh, God is one, all the demigods are God. Either you worship Lord Ganesha or Lord Shiva or Goddess Durga, they are one. Yesterday only my, maternal uncle came, and I was talking to him. He said that I worship Lord Shiva. I'm a devotee of Lord Shiva. So I said, oh, nice. Then later he said that, in the evening, I was asking his timetable, that what he do from morning to night. I was trying that he somehow start chanting Hare Krishna. So later he mentioned in his timetable that in the evening time, I visit Govind Devji temple. So I said, oh, wow. But you were saying that you are a devotee of Lord Shiva. And now you're saying that I also visit Krishna temple. So he said, yes, both are same. Either you worship Krishna or Lord Shiva. So even my mother was smiling at that time, because she also know that Krishna is God, Supreme Personality, and Lord Shiva is his devotee. But she didn't say anything, because she knew that he will not understand. But yes, I was trying to tell here that here people think that all are one. Either you worship Lord Shiva or Lord Krishna or this demigod, that demigod, it's one. So it's a great confusion. And because of this reason, it becomes difficult for people to accept Krishna consciousness. Many people, they become offended because they can't accept that only Krishna is God. They become
Um,
so much offended. So yeah.
so because like Bhagavan or Ishvara is a Krishna, but if you are following uh, Shiva, then Shiva is Bhagavan to them, no? Shiva is Ishvara for them. What I have seen, I don't know
Actually, you
if
know
this
what?
is.
The word
Mhm.
you have mentioned, that Shiva is Bhagavan for them. But one should understand that if we are worshipping God, okay, to whomsoever they are serving, but for what purpose they are serving? So that their material desires may get fulfilled. They are not serving their worshipable deity for the sake of getting their love. Not at all.
Let's see.
So actually, that is not worship. They are dealing with their worshipable deity. This is not worship.
Yes, because the nature of Sri Krishna is very different than the nature of Lord Shiva.
This is also true.
um, I think Lord Shiva guards the gates of Vrindavan or something like this.
Yes, this is very nice point. So, devotees who serve Lord Shiva for some material gain, Shiva will never give them intelligence. He will fulfill his their desires. But devotees who are serving Shiva, Lord Shiva, selflessly, they are not, asking something from him. Then Lord Shiva bestows his mercy on that devotee, and he somehow arranges the association of, Vaishnavas in his life. So there's a difference.
Mm.
So,
And I don't
I
know.
also I
Mm.
also remember I was also worshipping many different demigods. And you won't believe, at the beginning when I came into Krishna consciousness, so no one told me this, but I myself started assuming that all are one. You know, Lord Ganesha is also Krishna, Lord Shiva is also Krishna, this is also Krishna, that is also Krishna. I started assuming it by myself. But later, when I was hearing Bhagavad Gita, then I came to know that, oh, no, they are not Krishna. Krishna is one. They are demigods. They are devotees of Krishna. So now I will only worship Krishna. I don't have to do other things. And that was a great relief for me, because, I always wanted to free myself from unnecessary things which I was doing. So it was a great liberation for me that, oh, thank God, I only have to worship only one God, and God is one, Krishna. Okay. I also
Yeah.
wanted to share one thing. My Shiksha Guru was sharing this. Do you know Sai Baba?
Yes, he was
Yes.
popular some time ago.
Yes. So he was
Mm.
worshipping Sai Baba so that he may, for some reason, he was worshipping. But later, when he came into Krishna consciousness, he came to know that, oh, God is Krishna. So he was telling that I went to Sai Baba and I said that, Sai Baba, I was assuming that you are God. But now I came to know that you are not God, Krishna is God. So please forgive me. I will not be able to worship you. And then he went to Krishna. So
Mm.
this is very nice. You want to
And,
share
and
something? Yes.
well, just the tilak a Vaishnava wears is the Vishnu. Uh, uh, is a symbol related to Vishnu, but Shiva's is the lines, three
Three
lines.
lines. Yes.
So I don't know if people do both, then they have to combine. I apparently, but I think it's best to keep it sticking to one.
True. And there is one more interesting pastime, a story. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Related to this tilak. So, uh, Shiva, Lord Shiva, he also started putting, he also used to put Vaishnava tilak because he is a great devotee of Krishna. So he was also putting Vaishnava tilak. Now, the followers of Lord Shiva, who were assuming that Lord Shiva is my worshipable deity, they also they were copying Lord Shiva. They started copying Lord Shiva, and they also started wearing Vaishnava tilak. Now you will see many of the followers or devotees of Lord Shiva are demons, or yeah,
Ghost.
people of this that category. Now if demons, definitely if they are committing some sinful activity, then they will have to suffer the effect. But now because they started putting Vaishnava tilak, so now that Sudarshan chakra of Lord Vishnu, it was not able to touch those demons because they were wearing Vaishnava tilak. So Vaishnava tilak is very important. Every devotee should wear Vaishnava tilak every single day because it is like a protection shield. No any unauspiciousness can touch a person who is putting Vaishnava tilak. So those demons were actually not Vaishnavas, but they were putting Vaishnava tilak. So Sudarshana Chakra was unable to touch them. So later, Lord Vishnu told to Lord Shiva that, oh, uh, all this happening, those demons are also copying you, and they have also started putting Vaishnava tilak. Because of this reason, they are not able to, they are protected, and they are not able to suffer the effects of their sinful activities. So, because of this reason, Lord Shiva then changed his tilak, and then his followers started following him, and they also changed his tilak.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So, it's very amazing. So, we should put, Vaishnava tilak. And I was, explaining this today in another class, that this body is a temple. You will see, we were reading Prabhupada Lilamrita. So Prabhupada, he has by his actions showed that how living a healthy lifestyle is very important. If we will be healthy from this body, only then we will be able to serve Krishna nicely throughout our life. But with a diseased body, it's become very difficult to do anything. So yes, this body is a temple, and we should take care of this temple very nicely. That's why we put 12 tilaks, because this is a temple, this body is a temple, and we serve Krishna from this body. So this is very essential. Although this is material body, but still, because we use it in the service of Krishna, it is very valuable. So we should take care of our health, and yes, all these things. Okay. So let's move forward. Then purport we will continue tomorrow. So yes, we have already read it. I'll read it one more time. Such population depends on the chastity with and faithfulness of its womanhood, as children are very prone to be misled. Sorry. So the women afflicted with ignorance, thinking that they may engage in sin, being made to defy vows of chastity by us, will become corrupted. So there are many, many things to say on this verse. We will, discuss rest of the things tomorrow, if Krishna is willing, from the purport of Prabhupada. If you want to say something, please go ahead.
Um, Well, we did have a good understanding on this. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, we'll stop here now. Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai,
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki,
Jai.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.